Having a plan, I think, is the hardest part about achieving a goal. Is one, what is the goal? People don't really understand how to set a goal. Getting fit, getting healthy, getting tight and toned, those are very vague, they're not too specific. So creating SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-oriented goals that you are emotionally connected to.
Welcome to day number 3 of our 3-day split, lower body day. I've got my girlfriend Giselle in here with me today to give you guys a little different perspective. You can see how she does some things and maybe pick up some additional tips. So today we're starting off with leg extensions, and then we're going to be supersetting immediately to leg curls. With leg extensions, you want to make sure you're starting off pretty slow, really focusing on the squeeze. It's really about that contraction in the quads. Try not to rest at the bottom, squeeze at the top. Get that mind connecting to those thighs and preparing them for a badass workout. You notice here on our seated leg curls, I video over the fulcrum or the axis point of the machine, and I want you to make sure that you line the seat up so that your knees are lined up with the axis point of the machine. This is super important to make sure you're not hyperextending and you're putting the stress on the hamstrings as they're supposed to be. Now, the same thing as the leg curl. You want to really focus on squeezing at the bottom, up, slow, never lock out, pause at the bottom again. And the main reason for this is we want to really isolate and put as much stress on the hamstring as possible. Smith machine front squats. These can be a little difficult, but if you set yourself up right, you notice we don't have any weight on right now because we're just trying to get comfortable. Make sure we have our feet positioned properly, make sure our arms are positioned properly, make sure we really get our core activated. Now here I have an optional plate under heel version, and what this does is it puts a little more stress on the thighs. Now you see Giselle has a little bit of weight on here. We're going to really be focusing on not just performing a solid squat, not just putting some stress in the thigh, but if you notice, this is going to be a very stressful movement for your upper body as well. You see here I'm positioning my feet nice and even, and I'm making sure that I have just my heels on those plates, because if your feet are too far back, you tend to put too much stress into the hamstrings and glutes. Now, what you're going to notice between Giselle and myself, I never will lock out. I always keep tension on the thighs. Neither one is right or wrong. I just personally prefer to put as much stress on the legs and have as high intensity of a workout as possible, to where those last few reps are just absolutely brutal. You're going to notice throughout this workout, I'm not going to be going extremely heavy. I tweaked my left knee a few days ago, and I'm actually just pretty stoked that I can get this workout in with you guys today. Next exercise, back squats. I always recommend going really light on your first couple of squat sets because, one, this could be a pretty dangerous exercise. So make sure the bar is positioned correctly, make sure your feet are positioned correctly. You really want to focus on this hip hinge pattern. Okay, so you're going to push the hips back as you sit down, and now you're going to primarily focus on the weight in your heels. And because we're doing the front squat with the quad focus, I like to primarily focus our back squats on the hamstrings and the glutes. And so you'll notice I like to get down there, I like to stretch those hips out, stretch those quads and hamstrings and glutes out, and get my body connected to the mind and get myself familiar with what is about to take place. Okay? Really focus on the first few sets, just the quality of the movement, and prepare yourself for your main lifts. Okay? I do not consider these first 2 sets as part of the squat workout. Now you'll notice Giselle has a little bit of weight on here for her first working set. We're doing 6 to 8 reps. Therefore, you're trying to gradually increase the weight each set and try to find your maximum weight that you can lift for 6, no more than 8 reps. If you can do more than 8, maybe it's a little light. If you can't do 6, maybe it's a little heavy. Okay? And you notice she gets a nice pelvic thrust at the top, again going into a full extension. I personally prefer to not pause at the top, keep the tension in the thighs, hamstrings, and glutes, and push until I can't push any longer. If the weight's a little light, I'll actually slow it down. You notice I'm pausing at the bottom. The more time your muscles are under tension, the more blood that is going to be flowing to those muscles, and the better the burn. Next we have dumbbell walking lunges, but because the gym was a little busy at this time, we're showing you a dumbbell alternating front lunge version. We're doing 4 sets, 30 reps total, which is going to be 15 reps per leg. And so you're seeing Giselle's variation or version here of her dumbbell front lunge, and she actually prefers reverse lunges because they're easier on her knees and they're a little bit easier to perform. So you'll see those in just a second. Because of my knee, I'm moving really slow today. I'm really focusing more on the quality of the movement as opposed to the amount of weight that I'm lifting. Also, I want to give you guys a really good example of just good quality tempo and just good focus on the quality of the movement. You see here from the side version, shoulders are back, spine is tall, your knee never goes over your toe. I'm primarily trying to focus on the stress in my heels so my glutes are being activated more than anything else. Like I was mentioning, Giselle prefers the alternating reverse lunge, and what this does is it actually puts a little more stress in the hamstrings and glutes as opposed to the front lunge, which really puts a little more stress on the quads, and if you don't do them properly, you can put a little bit of stress on your knees. And the walking lunge is literally just walking lunges. So you're going to step and lunge, big step and lunge. Lying leg curls, hamstring isolation exercise. Just like the seated leg curl, you want to make sure you come up, squeeze, pause. Down slow, no pause, up, squeeze, pause. Really trying to focus on just getting as much blood flow into those hamstrings as possible. By not resting at the bottom, it's really helping and allowing you to focus on getting the best out of that hamstring exercise. So done with legs, now we're going on to our seated calf raise. This is my first set, so the weight is a little light, but if you notice, I'm pausing at the bottom, and then I'm pausing at the top. Really trying to get a nice full stretch, but then I'm really getting a good high squeeze. It is 6 to 8 reps, but I do recommend, just like the squat, that you start off a little light, maybe get 15 to 20 reps, and then gradually increase the weight set after set and work your way up to a weight that you can perform only 6 reps. Now we're going to be doing a single leg standing calf raise. Straight leg, don't have to lock out the knee, but you notice her right leg is tucked behind and the stress is all on that left calf. We're doing a pause, pause method. So you're going to pause at the bottom, full range at the top, get a nice tiptoe squeeze at the very, very top, trying to activate those calves and just get as much blood flowing from those hamstrings down into those calves. Now, depending on how much time you have left or how you're feeling, here's an optional last superset for you. We're going to be doing leg press. Notice how her back is straight. Her hands were holding onto the rails, and then I mentioned to her, put your hands back on the rails for better momentum, better leverage. You also notice her feet are evenly placed, toes slightly out. This was pretty heavy for her. We were getting pretty wiped out here at the end. But as soon as your set is done, you rack it, you walk right over to any wall. And we're going to be performing our last exercise of the day, which is our wall sits. Now these can be tricky. You notice I'm going to ask her to position her feet a little bit further back to get more into a 90-degree angle because we want to put equal stress on the quads, hamstrings, and glutes. Always keep shoulders back and head up, and I like to just let my hands rest in my lap. I try to put my mind somewhere else and don't stop breathing. 30 to 45 seconds is the range. Shoot for 45 seconds.
5, 4,
3, 2, 1.
That's so mean to do it after everything you've done.
That's what you should feel like after leg day. Huh?
You're annoying.